there! Welcome back to the Calling for Orpheus Sitting Podcast. My name is Connor, and you can find me at Calling for Orpheus on Instagram and Ravelry. And I'm back. It's been 2 months, I guess, 2 full months without a podcast. And I do have a reason for that, but before I get into any of the actual discussion, I do want to give one disclaimer, which I forget to make in every single one of my videos, and that is that there are going to be timestamps or chapters in this video, so if there's anything that you either don't care to sit through, you can skip it, or if there's anything you particularly want to see, you can skip to that section, and they're going to be both in the description and along the progress bar, so you can just scrub along and get what you want. And if you hear my dog barking, I'm sorry, he's found something outside that he's upset with. So, oh my god, I have posted since the last podcast. The reason why I've not been podcasting is really just school, holiday prep, more school, and then when I was done with that momentarily, I had 2 different vlogs that were ready to be posted, and then it was the end of the year and I did my 2024 recap video, so there just really wasn't time or an opening to podcast, but I am back. This is probably, I think this is probably going to be January's only video because I am pretty booked most of January. I'm going to be really busy this month, particularly on weekends, which is when I normally like to film. But I do have a lot to show you. Now, like I said, I have posted 3 other videos since my last podcast. 2 were project vlogs, and 1 was my yearly recap video. And all of the finished objects that I'm going to breeze through today are talked about in more depth in one of those 3 videos. So if you've not seen them, and there's a good chance that you haven't, because one of them got copyright suppressed, go watch those. I'll have them linked in the description, and I might do the little iCard thing. I don't know if I can put multiple in the same moment, but I'll do what I can. So, I guess I'll talk about what I'm wearing first, because this is a finished object. This is my Farnham sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. Let me get up so you can see a little better. I made this out of Knitting for Olive, merino, and compatible cashmere. The main blue color is poppy blue, and the contrast color stripes is a combination of limestone and Nordic beach. This is the merino, and it's the colorway limestone. The merino is limestone, the cashmere is Nordic beach, and you really can't see it on camera, but it does have a marled effect in person. And I love this sweater. It's so comfortable. I think it's really flattering. I love the shape of it. I love all of the positive ease it has. The only thing I would change about it is I do think it's a little short. I didn't knit it to pattern because my row gauge wasn't the same, and I accidentally did what you're supposed to do is 8 rows of the main color between your stripes, and I did 10 for some reason. I just completely misread the pattern. But I actually like it. I like the really, really wide stripes that it has. It's super soft and comfy, and one of the benefits I think of the Knitting for Olive merino and cashmere all together is that you get a really high cashmere content, because it's a lace weight strand technically, but the merino is a light fingering, so it's not, the lace weight is not really half the thickness, it's a little bit more than half, so you're getting more than 33% merino by weight. I should actually do the math to figure out how much of this sweater is cashmere by weight, but it's more than 33%. But because their merino is not really plush soft, it's I wouldn't call it rustic, but it's not soft either. It's non-superwash. It's pretty strong and durable. Like this yarn has been knitted into a different garment, unraveled, or no, knitted into a different garment, blocked, worn twice, I think, unraveled. The yarn was blocked again, it was knitted into this was blocked again, and this has been worn a lot since I made it. Like, I wear it at basically every opportunity because it's so comfortable. And there is basically no pilling. I think in my Everything I Knit in 2024 video, I found, there's one spot on this sleeve that's like, has 1 or 2 little fuzzy bits, but it looks pretty crisp. It looks really good. It looks quite, I mean, look at that. It's so beautiful. But yeah, I didn't knit it to pattern, so it's not the pattern's fault that I made it a little bit too short, but I did make it a little bit too short, and I'm not fixing it because I did a full Italian bind off, like with the setup rows and everything. And this is a 252 stitch sweater. I'm not unraveling that. I'm not cutting that. And it's cashmere. I don't want to cut that. Like, I have yarn left over, but I'm just gonna make an accessory. It's fine. But yeah, I love this. And this is actually not the only one of my sweater finished objects. I also finished the halibut sweater, which I'll put pictures up here because I do have pictures. And again, all of these things are in my 2024 recap video. I did finish the halibut sweater, but I was not happy with it because of the fit. And I've heard this criticism from a lot of people with halibut. It's one of those sweaters that either works really well for you or it doesn't work at all, unfortunately, and mine just didn't work. The yoke is super deep, and that's partially, I don't want to say it's like my fault or on me, because my gauge is not my fault, it's just how my hands work, but my gauge is taller than it's supposed to be, so it's going to be, it's designed to have a deep yoke. Mine is even deeper. It comes down basically to the small of my waist. And the yarn that I expected to block out like crazy based on my swatch for the body just didn't grow. So it's a relatively fitted, like slim fit sweater with a ridiculously deep yoke, so it just kind of fits like a straitjacket. It's bad. It does not fit. It looks really pretty. Again, I'll have put the picture up, or it'll be back up again here. It looks really pretty. It just doesn't fit. I mean, like, it physically fits my body, but you know what I mean? It doesn't fit well. I'm jealous of all the people that can make that sweater work. It just didn't for me. And with the size that I was making, I couldn't modify it. I just couldn't, the way the sweater is designed. For certain sizes, you literally can't modify it to divide the yoke and sleeves earlier, unfortunately. So that one didn't work. It is what it is. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the sweater because I don't like the yarn, so I don't want to go back and fix it. Because I mean, why would I? It's my hobby. Why would I do something that I don't like? So I don't know what to do with it, but I'm not happy with it. And the other thing that I finished recently is my 2024 Christmas sweater, which I actually don't have a picture of, because that's another one that I was pretty like meh about. I made, the big problem with that one is that I made it's in my 2024 video. Just go watch the video. But it's a full cabled sweater. It's, imagine, it's like sweater 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, I think. It's like all left-leaning cables. I didn't follow that pattern, but it's the same design concept. It's just all over left-leaning cables with 1x1 finishing. And despite the fact that I used an absolutely gigantic stitch count for my gauge, they're cables, so they just, the gauge is automatically tighter because you're crossing those stitches over. And it just didn't grow out as much as I thought it would. So it's not, I wanted a big, loose, baggy sweater like this, and it just isn't. And I also made the yoke divide too small. So it caused the neck to stretch out and the upper body to be tight while the lower body is relaxed. So it has kind of a mushroom shape. I'm just not that happy with it. I don't want to frog it because it's mohair, but eh. And the other thing is, they sent me, I ordered from Knitting for Olive, and this doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it's really annoying. I ordered from Knitting for Olive the merino in the colorway Red Currant. It's right up here, so I'm doing this. I ordered the merino in the colorway Red Currant, which is beautiful, like bright, intense. It's cooler in person than it is on camera, but it's so beautiful, and it looks exactly like it does on the website. It's exactly what I wanted. Again, it's cooler in person. It looks really hot on my camera. And then I ordered the colorway Pomegranate, which the merino on the website looked like a dark blood red color, similarly cool. This is what I got. And this is the colorway Pomegranate. They didn't like send me the wrong yarn. It's just photographed really badly on the website. And it looks blood red, and it's orange. This is literally orange. This is not, and I understand that like when you're taking pictures of yarn colors, like, it's just, you know, how colors work and how our eyes work. It's not gonna look perfect all the time. But like, this is just not the same color remotely. And Knitting for Olive does not make it easy to return things, especially if you live in the United States like I do. So I just bit the bullet and I worked with this anyway. And I think that's also part of why I was not as happy with my result as I would have been if this was, because like, yeah, I wanted like a dark, rich, Christmassy red combination, and that's just not it. It is what it is. It's fine. Yeah, so there's that. There's also, those are the garments that I finished. And there's also all of my Christmas makes. And again, I have a project blog for this. It got copyright suppressed because I put some music in there that I thought was copyright free, and it wasn't. But like, you can still go, it's still up. It's just, nobody got recommended it. And in that video, I talk about all the things in detail, but I will put up some pictures. First thing, I knit some socks for my friend Alicia. They're super cute. They're pink. Because she is a great knitter and she knits a lot, but socks are the one thing that she just refuses to knit, which I understand because they're little and fiddly and tight, whatever. But I love making socks. So I made her these, and they are the chart I used is from the Bright Morning Socks pattern from Drops. I don't recommend the pattern. It's really not well written. It's quite confusing and unclear, and the math is just wrong. In some of the places, the math is just outright not correct. So I don't recommend the pattern, but it's a free pattern, so it's not really a big deal. And you can just go in, look at the chart, and just make socks with the chart in them, and that's what I did. And again, I show them in detail in that video. And the yarn I used was from one of my favorite, like, small indie dyers, which is Craftily Dyed yarn on Etsy. They have really good yarn. It's really soft, the colors are beautiful, and they are not expensive. It's like every, like, big indie dyer is selling their yarn for like $30 to $40 a skein now, which is batshit crazy. Like, I understand, but it's batshit crazy. I'm not spending that much. And the small dyers on Etsy are still at like $25 a skein. Go support these small artists. They're great. But yeah, it's from Craftily Dyed Yarn. I think the color is just hot pink. But yeah, it's this beautiful hot pink color. And I actually kind of want to knit myself a hat in this color, which is weird because I'm not really a pink person. But something about this color is just fun, and I like it. So yeah, those were fun, very easy. I crocheted this poison apple for our friend Star, which I did not get to gift to her because she is a very busy human being. She'll get it eventually. I believe I handed it off to Alicia, and Alicia is going to give it to her when she sees her. But yeah, it's really pretty. It's this poison apple. I have a couple of my own, and I use mine as pin and needle cushions. So, and she's a big sewist, so that could be useful for her. Then I did some spins. I did 2 gift spins for my friends Meredith and Stephanie. Meredith got this chunky purple skein, and Stephanie got this sock set. That was fun. Actually, those were the gifts that went by the fastest, which I was not expecting. But yeah, those are all the gifts. Again, if you want to see the full process and everything, there's a video for it. I know that I've just been saying, like, watch this other video, this whole intro, but, like, watch those other videos. Because I don't have I would show them off and make this more interesting, but I don't have them anymore. The other thing that I finished, which is also part of a video, is my very first sweater spin. So I have one of the skeins here. Look at it. Look at it. I spun up a total of 450 grams of this. And this is 100% Shetland wool also from an Etsy shop called Walnut Farm Designs. And this is the color Heron. And yeah, it was very itchy when I first got it. And I still don't really, it's not a next to skin kind of a thing. Because it is, like, hairy. It's got some, you can see the halo on, oh, I'm actually making that worse. You can see the halo on it. It's, like, it's hairy. But it's, after blocking this, it's much softer than it used to be. It's very lanolin rich as well. I did a 2-ply. I want to say this is approximately a 20-degree spin or ply, which is not as tight as I wanted it. But it's like impossible to get Shetland wool tight at all. It's, like, impossible. But yeah, I had a good experience with this. I've already caked up the biggest skein, and I'm working on a self-drafted, like, Gansey-style sweater. So I'm not working on it a ton, actually. I should get it and show it off. I wasn't planning on it, because I'm not working on it a lot, but anyway, it doesn't matter. That's one of my finished objects. I do have a full spinning vlog for this as well. I'm quite pleased with it. So that's all of the finished objects. We are 15 minutes through this video. I hope the rest won't be that long. I have 3 whips to show you, and I could get my hand-spun project just to show it off. And this shouldn't take that long. So the first thing that I have, I'm going to go through what I have the least to say about first, which I think is my field sweater. So this is the field sweater by Camilla Vaude. I'm so glad I put short rows in it. Oh my god, look at that. It looks so pretty on camera. Oh my god. Oh, how beautiful is that? So pretty. Okay, so this is the field sweater by Camilla Vaude. And I am knitting this in. It's behind me. Oop, this is no ball band. I am knitting this in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. This color is marzipan, and then the body color is going to be dark ochre. Yeah, dark ochre. And I'm really worried that I'm going to run out of yarn because I'm less than halfway through the yoke, I believe, and I only have 2 skeins of this, and I've already run out of the first skein. So I might have to buy more of this. I'm gonna have to check if one of my... There is a local yarn store near me that sells knitting for Olive, but I don't know if they sell this yarn, and I don't know if they were gonna sell this color either. But I would rather just go in person than wait 10 days to get 1 ball of yarn shipped to me and pay $15 for shipping. But yeah, here it is. I'm making size 2, I think. I did a gauge swatch. I am above gauge. I'm quite significantly above gauge. I think if I were on gauge, I would have been size 4. I think usually in patterns, I wear a size between a 3 and a 5. Which makes sense because I think size 3 to 5 is usually, depending on the pattern and the designer and like what their smallest size is, it's usually anywhere from a medium to an extra large. Which makes sense, because in men's, I wear a medium or a large, and usually patterns are graded for women's sizing. So, but yeah, for this one, because I'm above gauge, I calculated that size 2 would be the best for me. And I did modify this, as you can see, and I put short rows in. And originally I was going to put short rows in after the yoke was done, because there's this big cable motif, these wheat fronds, I don't know what you would call these, the wheats, that come down the yoke, and then you do some, I'm planning on doing some color work, so the yoke is one color and the body is another color. And then after you've completely finished the yoke, you knit, I think it's like 12 rounds, like it's a lot of knitting in stockinette. After that, I was planning on just putting the short rows in then, but I thought about it and I was like, yeah, but if I do that, then the wheat motif is going to come lower on my front than on the back, and it's gonna look like I'm wearing a bib, and I'm not gonna like that. So I did a brave thing, and I put the short rows in the wheat motif, and I'm not gonna explain how I did it, because it was it was the way that I knit, which is approximate. It's basically like, okay, I'm just gonna do what I think approximately is the right thing, and then I'm going to figure out how to make it as perfect as I can at the end, is basically what I do. So you can kind of see like where the short row line is, like this is a normal wheat, this is where the short rows were. So it's like a little funky looking, but it's fine. It's not a big deal, and that's gonna be like here. It's fine. But yeah, the pattern doesn't include short rows, and I can't stand for that. That just doesn't work for me. So man, God, so pretty. Yeah, this is a knit along that I'm doing with my friends. It's not strict. It's just I think 5 of us out of the 7 or 8 in the group wanted to make the same sweater, and I was like, why don't we do a knit along, just make it at the same time. So that's what we're doing. There's no deadline, we're just all making it. And yeah, I'm pleased with it. I have very little else to say. I hope to God I don't run out of yarn, but I probably will. The next thing that I've got is, oh, actually, all of the things that I have are circular yokes. I don't know why. The next thing that I have is the Stitches sweater by Kuta Vakika. Here it is. This is... It makes me so happy. Look how funky! Look how funky it is! Oh my god, look at it. Okay, so this was knit in Knit Picks Swish Worsted. And for the main color, I used Swish Worsted and this yarn that is new to me, which is called Rico Make It Tweed. And what it is it's just this like thread weight strand of yarn with little neps of tweed along it, and you hold it with a yarn like this, and it gives you a tweed fabric. And the original sample, I can actually work on this while I'm talking. The original sample was knit in a like speckled or tweed base yarn. I believe it was a hand-dyed speckled yarn, but it in effect it looks like tweed when it's all knit up. And I just happened to randomly discover this yarn. I was watching a video of somebody, it was a spinning video, and in that video they were talking about how their friend had knitted this thing and used this Rico Make It Tweed, and I was like, hang on, I've seen that yarn. I know that yarn. I didn't know what it was for before watching that video and having it explained to me, but I was like, hang on, my local yarn store sells that yarn. So I went and lo and behold, they had it, and they had this neon green color, which works perfectly with the apple green that I'm using as the main color. And then I have, it's too high up for me to grab it from here, but the other, I have, this is Nightshade Heather. Then I have, I'm forgetting the name of this color. I want to say it's like Glacier Heather or something, which is bright blue. And then the other contrast color I have is a dark teal. So I'm loving it. It's just a fun palette. Like this is my knitting style, right? It's really subdued, mature, earthy, and then this monstrosity. But I'm so excited, and it's so soft. Actually, my friend Alicia introduced me to this yarn, which shocked me because she's one of those knitters who doesn't really like superwash, and she really only knits with rustic yarn, and she has like skin of iron. She does not find rustic yarn itchy. She can wear it right on her skin. Like she'll show me what she's making all the time, and she's like, "Ooh, feel it," and I'll grab it and go, I don't like that. And she wears these things right on her skin. But she introduced me to this yarn. And it's so soft. It's so soft. It's delightful. It does kind of grow a lot. Um, this is another one that I'm making a size lower. I think based on the pattern to get the amount of positive ease I want, I would need an extra large. I think the extra large would be a little bit big on me, but I want a lot of positive ease. But because I am a bit above gauge, I think I'm making a size between large and extra large. I've cast on for the large, and when it comes time to cast on stitches at the underarm, because there's very few stitches that you cast on, I'm just going to cast on more. Not a big deal. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. It's super soft. The intention for this is for it to be a cozy, almost pajama-y kind of sweater like this one is, that I can just throw on next to skin. Yeah, I already love it. I'm so happy with this. It's so cute. It's so fun. But yeah, I highly recommend this yarn. I believe it's actually also machine dryable. Yeah. You can machine wash it and dry it, which I think is awesome. So yeah, that's that. I don't have stitch stoppers on this, which is a problem. But it's fine, I'll get them. And then my last whip, which is one that I have the most to say about. This is actually the first that I cast on chronologically, but is, I'm just mentioning it last because I have the most to say. Look at it! Look at her! Look at that! It's so pretty! Okay, so this pattern is Taranika by Kirsten Michelle Kukulski, who I believe just goes by Kirsten Michelle on Ravelry, but I bought this on Etsy. Just take it in. Just take it in. Just look at it. I'm just gonna give you a minute. Look at how beautiful this is. It's even prettier on camera, actually. I'm so pleased with myself. Look at it. Okay. So this really brought me back to my roots because I fell in love with knitting over fine weight color work. That's really what sucked me into knitting, and I haven't done it in a long time. I'll do like chunky color work like this, but a lot of the like really fine color work motifs are very, they take themselves a little seriously, I think, if that makes sense. Like they're not like, this is playful and silly, and fun and chunky and graphic, and that's what I like. Or I like earthy, but generally I like things to be kind of geometric and playful. And a lot of the finer color work is just not. There's a lot of floral, there's a lot of very earthy motifs that are not necessarily like granola earthy, which is what I like, and are more like cottagecore earthy, which is not my thing. And yes, I just don't do a lot of it because a lot of the designs don't really speak to me, unfortunately, despite the fact that I love the technique. But this is all geometric. It's all triangles, arches, squares, diamonds. It's all super geometric. It's very easy. And the design uses 6 colors. So the reason why I found this is because I had this yarn that I bought this past summer at my first fiber festival. And this is Passion Yarns Cherish in the colorway My Heart Beats Your Name. And it's in MCN. It's merino cashmere nylon. Super soft. That's another dyer that has really pretty, extremely inexpensive yarn. That I would recommend, and they're local to me, I think. I think they're local to me. And I was like, I like this, and I planned on just doing a plain stockinette sweater in this, but I was getting really sick of plain stockinette because I was just doing a lot of it towards the end of the year. And I was like, why don't I do a colorwork sweater? So I looked for colorwork sweater patterns on Etsy, and I found this one, and I grabbed 6 partial skeins and mini skeins out of my stash in a color palette that would work, and this is it. And this is an extremely heavily modified pattern. First of all, I don't even remember what size I made. To be quite honest with you, I don't remember what size I made. I think what it was I intended to make a size large and then cast on fewer stitches so that I would have something in between a medium and a large. I think. I don't really remember. I didn't write a lot of notes for this. But what had happened was I made a mistake somewhere along the line, and I ended up with the stitch count of the extra large. No! I know what it is. I know what it was now. I was in between large and extra large because for some reason, despite the fact that this pattern, it's a 6-stitch repeat when you get to the bottom, like when you're done with all of the increases, it's only a 6-stitch repeat. For some reason, the difference between the I'm gonna say size 4, I think it was size 4 and 5. The difference between size 4 and size 5 was like 30 stitches for some reason. And size 4 would have fit me, but not had as much ease as I wanted. And size 5 would have just been way too big. So what I intended to do was make size 4 for basically the whole way down, and then when I divided for sleeves, cast on more stitches so that I'd be in between 4 and 5. That's what I wanted to do. That's what it was. But somewhere along the line, and I think it was probably at the very beginning, I just had too many stitches. And when it came time to divide for the yoke, I realized I had the stitch count of size 5, which is way too big. So instead of adding additional stitches, I removed a bunch of them at the underarm. So it's a pretty decently sized cast on, but the pattern is designed so you cast on like dozens, like a lot of stitches at the underarm. So that's one of the modifications I did, was just for the size. The other modification I did is the chart. So the shape of the chart is the same. All of the shapes included are the same, but the color placement is different. So like, for example, this here where I use the main color, this is supposed to be this blue. One example, and I do that a lot through this chart, is I just moved the colors around to make the motifs look a little bit different, and to kind of balance out the color usage, because in the pattern it's very leans towards their equivalent of these two colors. It's like very heavily these colors, and the other ones show up like once each, and I didn't like that, so I did change that, and I much prefer how this motif looks. The other big modification I did was this pattern. I'll show you a picture of what, actually, let me sit in the middle. There's 2 models. There's this model, and there's this model. This model has the neckline, it's kind of like this, where it is wide, it's got a lot of open space here, but it's pretty high up, like it's more like a crew, it's like a wide crew neck. It's not quite a boat neck, it's wide and boat-y, but it's not that wide, but it fits close to the neck. And then this model, where the neckline is scooping, it's like this, which I did not want at all. And initially, I had made the sweater like this model's, where I did the neckline exactly as the pattern said, and then when I went to divide for the sleeves, instead of dividing during the color work, which would have pulled that neckline down, I divided after the color work was completely finished and I'd knit a couple of extra rows, then I divided for the sleeves. But then when I had a couple of inches of the body down, I went and tried it on, and the neckline, I just thought it was too wide. Because in this model, you can't really see how wide the neckline really is because her hair covers it, which designers, please don't do that. Let me see the whole sweater, please. You can't really see how wide the neckline actually is. But I mean, it was like that, and my traps were out, and I was like, this is not flattering on me. It was physically comfortable, but it just didn't look very good. But the sweater starts from the neckline. You cast on the neckline and you build out from there. So I had to go in and I had to cut the neckline out. What I did, it actually wasn't as hard as I thought, was I cut, this is not the original neckline, but imagine it is. I cut into the neckline, and then the row that joined the neckline to the stockinette, I just manually unpicked it the whole way out, and picked up the stitches that were left loose. It was actually, it was time consuming, but it's actually not that hard. And then from there, I worked decreases and additional short rows, and then I added a new neckline, and this fits me so well. If I weren't already comfy and cozy, I would put this on for you. Actually, should I put it on? Now you'll see it on. You'll see it on at some point in the future, anyway. Yeah, so I did quite heavily modify that neckline. Like this neckline is a solid 24 stitches tighter than the one that I had originally cast on that the pattern told me to do. And this short row portion is a lot deeper. There's a lot more stockinette going on before the color work. But I'm so happy that it fits me super well. Like it fits me like a store-bought t-shirt would. So it like completely covers my traps and the back of my neck. It fits so well. I love it. So yeah, I love this sweater. And you know what? Let me get my little hand spun candy sweater. Let me get it, just because I mentioned it. Let me grab it. Okay, I have no idea. I just looked at my camera and realized it was still paused. So I have no idea if I just showed you what I made. I have no idea. So I guess I'll show you again, just real quick. This is what I'm knitting with my hand spun. It's cute. I actually like that the texture is really subtle, because of how texture the yarn itself is. But I'm just like I'm not that crazy about it. I'm not sure why. I don't know. I kind of want to make, because it's supposed to be outerwear, and like a textured sweater is fun and everything. But like I have rustic sweaters that are just like normal crew neck sweaters, and I don't really wear them, because they're so rustic. So I kind of want to make something like an outerwear piece out of this. I've seen some designs for like collared cardigans that look like shirt jackets, or that like look like a shirt, like a flannel. I might do something like that, but I don't know that I have enough yarn. So we will see, but yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I don't want to feel just okay about my very first handspun project though, so I might still undo it and redo some kind of rustic outerwear piece. I don't know. It's not the end of the world. I don't need to figure it out now. But I do also have acquisitions. So speaking of handspun, I'll talk about this first. This is some not handspun. This is some spinning fiber that during our Christmas gift exchange my friend Alicia got for me. Oh, God, it's pretty. Look at it. It's so pretty. So at first I thought that this was a bat. Like the kind of thing that I could make woolen spun out of. But, taking a better look at it, I don't necessarily know that it is, because all of the fibers do generally go in the same direction. It's not like combed top, where it's just straight up and down the whole way, but like, it's generally pretty much up and down. So it might not be great for handspun or for woolen spun. And the other thing is, it has these bits of what I believe are nylon or polyester or something of the sort. They're very shiny, they're very slippery, and it's a completely different texture to the rest of the yarn. So I don't want to try a new spinning style with also a new inventive texture that I've never worked with, but it's so fun. It's so cool. It has these little bits of like, there's like dark teal. Yeah, there's like dark teal in there too somewhere. It's so fun. And I'm planning on, I'm actually already started some handspun with this. Oh, it's never shows up very well on camera. But I've started some handspun with this, and I'm intending to make, there is a cowl in, oh God, I moved my knitting books. Well, I have the Fellowship of the Knits, which Alicia also got me as a birthday present. And in that pattern, there is an Eye of Sauron cowl. And the contrast color they use is very much like this, so I think that's what I'm going to use this for. That's that. That's my first little acquisition for you. The other two acquisitions I have are yarn. Sorry, I just paused this filming because my bag was crinkling. Are yarn, and they both have some stories behind them. I'm going to go with this one first, even though this is a newer one. This is Knit Picks Gauzy, and it's made with Cupro and merino. And Cupro, as I understand it, it's kind of like rayon from bamboo, where it's made of 100% natural fiber content, but it is itself a man-made fiber. It's not just straight up cotton. I don't fully understand what the process is, but that's my rough understanding of the fiber. And this I bought to pair with some cashmere that I had. It's also knitting for olive compatible cashmere in the colorway Dusty Dove Blue, because originally I had bought the Dusty Dove Blue along with Lavender Blue, because on the website, and this is kind of my fault, because this, unlike the pomegranate, which was like, that's not the right color, this was a much subtler difference. On the website, it looks a little bit more blue than it is in person. But it's also, on the website, it's against a white background. And Dusty Dove Blue is one of those colors where when you put it against a neutral, it looks very much blue. But when you put it against a more saturated color, it looks straight up like completely desaturated gray. And Lavender Blue is extremely saturated. And I wanted to pair them together because I thought that it was going to be like a soft blue with this really intense blue, and it was going to even each other out. It just looks gross. It looks nasty. I don't like it. I tried to like it many times, and I was like, I just don't. I just simply don't. The Lavender Blue is way too intense, and it makes the Dusty Dove Blue look just gray. Zero saturation gray, and they don't look good together. It's not working for me. So I'm going to use both of them separately. But what I intended to do was pair that cashmere with this yarn, because it's gray. But it's not really gray. It looks gray when you pair it with such an intense color, but when I put it with this color, it was literally just blue, and it didn't look so good together. I didn't really like it. And I didn't really like the combination of this yarn, which has, it's a two-ply. It's a two-ply yarn. And you can see, like, it's really a defined kind of barber pole plying. And the cashmere is like a 3-ply. A lot of the knitting for olive yarns are like 6 plies. So they've got a lot of plies, and they're not as defined as this is. And it also has a totally matte texture, which is kind of shiny, and it just like didn't look very good together. So I'm still going to be using this for a sweater. I have a sweater quantity of it, and one of the things that I want to do in 2025 is I want to make a plant fiber sweater. So this will work for me. I'm going to make probably the Moonset Pullover by Ozetta, I think is what I'm going to make. Yeah. Oh, this is the colorway Chance of Rain as well. It's not great. Then the other yarn I have is a much funkier yarn, and that is Possum from Wild Earth Yarns. This is a colorway Olive, which is not olive. Like, this is definitely not olive. It is sage, but it looks accurate on the website, which is what I care about. This is also marketed as a fingering weight yarn, which it is not. It is just not fingering weight. It just isn't. The thing is, it is woolen spun. And because it's woolen spun, it has the weight to length ratio of a fingering weight yarn, of a worsted spun fingering weight yarn, right? This is 100 grams, there's 400 meters in here, which is the weight to length ratio of a worsted spun fingering weight yarn. But this is woolen spun, which means there is significantly more yardage per gram of weight, because it's lighter, it's loftier. And I actually started a project with this already. I did a gauge swatch, and it says on the ball band that you can use a 2.75 to a 3.25 millimeter needle. I don't know who's doing that. I don't know who on earth is doing that. The absolute tightest I could comfortably go was 3.5. I could not go smaller than that, or it hurt. So, and I'm a loose knitter. So, I started a sweater with this on 3.75 millimeter needles, and it was intended to be an English tailored shoulder sweater with a V-neck. And let me also actually grab that, because I have it here. Okay, so here it is. And it doesn't look that bad. This is loose. Like, it doesn't look that bad. But you might be able to tell, first of all, that there's too many stitches for the collar. I just picked up too many stitches. It's flaring out. Like, this is not what it should look like. The underarms are also too shallow. And, you know, I was willing to excuse all of those things as I was knitting it. But then, you know, as I was knitting it, it was really bunched up on my needles. Like bad. Like, it was uncomfortable to knit. It was so bunched up on my 32-inch needles. And I was like, you know, it should be a little bunched up to give me some space, because it should be bigger than 32 inches. But it shouldn't be this bad. Like, this looks really big. And keep in mind, I have a 38-inch chest, and I wanted the sweater to be like 44 inches in circumference. And I laid it out, and unblocked, it was 50 inches in circumference, which is bigger than this. and this is like really oversized. So I had to unravel it. And I was like, well, if I'm already unraveling it, I might as well just start over, because the fit is not great. I did the English tailored shoulder. I brought it out too far. Like, it's only supposed to come out to like here, and I just brought it out too far on accident, which I often do with set-in sleeve constructions. There's too many stitches for the collar. The yoke was not comfortably deep enough. Yeah, it just didn't work. But the reason why it was so big is because at the start here, when I was knitting flat and doing all these increases, the gauge was much tighter because I was knitting flat and I was doing a bunch of increases. And I think it was a 20 stitch gauge, which, mind, again, not a finger weight gauge, and I was doing it on 3.75 millimeter needles. And even on 3.75 millimeter needles, that is not a finger weight gauge. So yeah, I had a roughly 20 stitch gauge. And then when I did it in the round, I had, I think, an 18 stitch gauge or a 17 stitch gauge, which is not what I was supposed to have. That's not the same thing. So I did the math and figured out that I need, like, I think it's like 200 stitches I need, something like that, maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, I'm just going to start this over again when I have less on my plate, and when I feel like knitting and stocking out again, because I just don't feel like knitting and stocking out right now. I'm doing texture, I'm doing color work, and that's what I'm going to make. So yeah. Now, that is... Oh, other thing that I want to say is the yarn that I'm using. So the yarn that I'm using, like I said, is Wild Earth Yarns Possum. And it is... I discovered the existence of possum yarn because a YouTuber I was watching was talking about raccoon yarn. I was like, what the hell is raccoon yarn? And then she's like, I've heard of possum yarn, but not raccoon. And I was like, what the hell is possum yarn? I've never heard of possum yarn. You've heard of possum yarn? I haven't. So I looked it up. And apparently it is possum, not opossum. It's a different animal. And it is a sort of New Zealand exclusive textile, it seems, because in New Zealand, possums are very invasive and damaging to the environment. So they have to be hunted. And when you're hunting a soft, fluffy animal, you might as well put its fleece to use. So they make yarn and thread and fabric and whatnot. And this is one of those yarns. Which, again, I wanted to make it quite clear that, like, they hunt the possums. They do not farm them. They're not living possums that get shaved and fed and housed. Like, they hunt the possum. Because I know that's going to be a deal breaker for some people. So I wanted to make that quite clear, because not all of the websites say that. Like, a lot of the websites, like, oh, the fleece was harvested on this. Like, what do you mean harvested? Because you can harvest off of a sheep, too, if the sheep stays alive. So, like, I wish that they would use more explicit language, because, again, like, I know it's going to be a deal breaker for some people. But anyway, I found it justifiable ethically, and wanted to try the yarn. And I got this from, again, Wild Earth Yarns, which is a mill that makes the yarn in New Zealand. They're not the only mill that makes this kind of yarn. But I found them to have the best price, even with the shipping, which was very expensive. I think I paid like $40 for shipping from New Zealand to Southeast United States. I paid $40 in shipping, and it was still cheaper than if I had purchased it from an American store that had already bought it, you know? And also, it got to me in, like, days. It got to me very fast. Like, it was... I remember the day that it got to me, it was in... I think it was in Chicago that morning, and then that afternoon it was here. I don't live anywhere near Chicago. It was pretty impressive. And that was also DHL. So I had one bad experience with DHL, and I've had an amazing experience with DHL, so I have not written them off yet. Yeah, possum yarn. If you are okay, again, if you're cool with the ethics situation of the possum yarn, I actually really recommend trying it, because it doesn't feel like anything else that exists. It has kind of a rustic feel in the hand. Like, it's not silky, it's not soft. I would actually describe it as being the opposite of mohair or alpaca. Whereas with mohair and alpaca, you touch them like, oh, it's so silky soft. And then you wear it, and it's like, ugh, what is this? It's like hair. It's like wearing a sweater made of human hair. It's gross. I hate it. This is the opposite. It doesn't feel that soft to the hand, but it's really nice on your skin. Like, you don't feel it. And it has a halo. It is like a hairy yarn. You can't see it very well because the hairs are dark. It's from a possum. But, like, it's hairy yarn, but it doesn't feel prickly at all. It's like, it's really, really nice. And it was $24 a skein, which is quite good. So if you live in Australia or New Zealand and you can get cheaper shipping, I would actually really recommend buying this yarn. You can get it at a good deal. And for what I would call, this is DK, I would absolutely... They also sell yarn that they label as DK. I don't know how thick that one is. This is labeled fingering. It's definitely DK. And you get crazy yardage out of this. Like, it's, well, okay, you know what, maybe you could probably squish it down to fingering, like, if you're really, but even that, like, I wouldn't call that fingering weight. Like, this is it stretched to its maximum capacity, like, as tight as it'll go. I wouldn't call it fingering still. Anyway. Yeah, it's unlike anything I've ever worked with. I do honestly want more of it, but not until I finish this project, and I also, like, I don't have any plans for it, and one of the things that I want to do in 2025 is not buy yarn without a plan. So, like even this yarn, I had a specific plan, but the plan fell through, and I can still make the same sweater. It's just going to be a little bit lighter. It's not a big deal. With this, it's like I know what I want to make with this, but they have a ton of colors that I want. But I do think I should wait until I know what I want to make. And I know that shipping is going to be more expensive in 2025, probably, for us Americans. But I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet, because I don't need $300 worth of, 3 different sweater quantities of possum yarn. I don't know what to do with it. So, yeah, it's a super interesting yarn. I love the color. And when I do cast it on, because it should be soon, I want to make that this winter, as opposed to, like, waiting until, spring or summer when I can't wear it anymore, or, God forbid, next fall or winter. I'd like to make it this summer, so hopefully pretty soon I'll be able to actually show that off. I think this might be my first podcast where I'm saying, like, yeah, I love everything I have with needles. There's nothing I have here that I'm like, about. Like, I love all of this. I'm super happy with all of it. So, yeah, and hopefully, honestly, by the next video, which should be in, like, February, I think, or maybe not the next video, but the next podcast, unless I decide to randomly make a second podcast in January, which I might do. Next time I see you, one of these sweaters will probably be done, and if not, they will all be very significantly progressed, and I really can't wait to show you. I'm so excited about this, and I know there are things to be concerned about in the coming year. Like, there are things to be worried about, there are reasons to be anxious in the coming year, but, like, I'm so excited, honestly. Particularly for, like, my making, because I'm starting off really well, and I've got a spreadsheet going, I have quite particular plans, and by that I mean not, like, specific projects, but, like, the way that I want to go about things is pretty specific to prevent myself from getting overwhelmed, and I really want to avoid what I've done this past year, which is just, like, I have to use yarn, I have to get yarn out of my stash, which is what I've done a lot of in 2024, and it resulted in a lot of projects that I just didn't like at all. Because I would get yarn and go, oh, I don't like this yarn. And instead of getting rid of the yarn, which is the normal thing to do, I would make myself use it. Or I would have yarn in my stash that I liked and just didn't have the right project for yet, and I would force myself to find the right project and get it out. Which is like, but I like the yarn, why don't I just hold on to it, So, I'm working on my mindset. I'm very hopeful that the coming year is going to be good. Decent. I don't wanna put the bar too high and get disappointed, but decent is my hope. And yeah, I want to do more hand spun. I want to do more of things that make me happy, which are apparently bright colors and texture and circular yokes, apparently, and soft things. Soft things. These are both extremely soft. Oh, this is made with sock yarn. I don't think I mentioned that. Sock yarn. So yeah. It feels good to be back. You might be hearing from me sooner rather than later, if I feel like it. But yeah, I've been talking for an hour almost. I'm going to end it here. I appreciate you so much for watching. If you liked this video and you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. I know that it's annoying to hear that, but it actually helps me a lot. Leave a like. Again, it helps me a lot. And if you feel so inclined, leave a comment, because I just like reading them. They make me happy. I hope you had fun today. I had fun with you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.